Thank you everyone for joining and welcome to today's live dispatch from the Handala with the Green Olive Collective. My name is Eris Bleicher and I'm the Advocacy and Membership Director of the Green Olive Collective, an advocacy, human rights, and tour guiding center committed to a democratic future and an end to the ongoing displacement of Palestinians. We provide communities around the world with insight into the apartheid policies of the occupation and the resources to engage in meaningful advocacy and solidarity with Palestinians. Your contributions for today's event will go to sustain our work to amplify the voices of Palestinian and international human rights defenders, calling for a permanent ceasefire and an end to the policies of ongoing starvation in Gaza, and support our efforts to raise local and transnational awareness about the violence of occupation and the ongoing Nakba. We need contributions from you, our wider community around the world, in order to cover the costs of this event and sustain solidarity initiatives with communities living under occupation, including replanting of olive trees after arson attacks, rebuilding homes after demolitions, and cultivating land threatened with expropriation. You can contribute at giftjustice.com, which I just put into the chat moments ago, and we will give a portion of today's proceeds to the Palestine Children's Relief Fund, a humanitarian organization providing emergency medical relief and life-saving care in Gaza as we speak, and to the Human Rights Defenders Fund, which provides free legal counsel to nonviolent civil resistors working against the expropriation of Palestinian land. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition launched its 37th maritime mission last week to break the Israeli blockade of the Gaza Strip and protest ongoing policies of starvation. The vessel is carrying humanitarian aid, including food, baby formula, and prosthetic limbs for the children of Gaza. It is named Handala after the famed cartoon of a barefoot Palestinian refugee child by Naji al-Ali, and is embarking to Gaza just weeks after the Madleen, another Freedom Flotilla, was seized by Israeli forces in international waters. We're very glad to join today with crew member Robert Suberi, live from the Handala, for a live dispatch from the mission. I first met Bob in 2021 when he participated in a 3-month protective presence initiative, embedding solidarity activists in occupied territory in solidarity, and have been honored to know him and work with him in various initiatives over half a decade of community organizing and co-resistance with Palestinian communities defending themselves every day in the face of forced transfer. Bob, we're really glad and honored to have you here. And in a last minute development, if I'm not mistaken, we are also joined today by Chris Smalls, who some of you may have been familiar with before this call, who is also on board the Handala and is the co-founder and former president of the Amazon Labor Union, the first independent union to successfully organize Amazon warehouse workers in the United States. His tenacity and unwavering commitment as an organizer in the ALU helped give new energy to the US labor movement and inspire workers to defy corporate power and abuse in the last years. Together with Chris and Bob, we'll speak now about the progress of the current Solidarity mission, the experience of the crew on board the ship to date, and what motivated them and others to join in tangible solidarity with Palestinians facing starvation, siege, and massacre in the Gaza Strip. The last thing I'll say before we begin our conversation is that from this moment on, as we begin to speak with Bob and with Chris, everyone should please feel free to ask questions and send questions in a direct message to me in the chat so that I can know to look for them. Write question with a dash or colon after it so I'll know to find it, and hopefully we will have time to integrate them into a more open discussion and a Q&A at the end of this dispatch. So with that, I will turn it over to Chris and Bob, and I guess begin first by asking maybe you, Bob, to introduce yourself. What is your name? Where are you now? Where are you from? And how did you become active in solidarity and co-resistance with Palestinians? Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can we see you?
You can't see me.
Oh, now I can. We see you perfectly.
Okay.
You both look great.
Uh, Thank you, Aris. Thank you for putting this webinar together. And um, yeah, my name is Bob Suberi. I'm from the United States. As Aris said, I made my first delegation with CJNV. Aris was one of the staff, I believe. Then it was a 10-day delegation. We went to mainly Massacre, and it was my first time in the West Bank, my first time crossing the Green Line. I have been to Israel many, many times. I have a large family there, Zionist. I refer to myself as a recovering Zionist. And yeah, so that was my introduction. It was obviously, as you can see, a life-changing event for me. And it's led me to doing other things as well. Hinenu, the 3-month delegation in the West Bank, and also the flotilla.
Thanks so much, Bob. Great to have you here. And Chris, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself? Thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Chris Smalls, once again, the founder of the Amazon Labor Union, the first union in American history for Amazon workers. And like many others, I was inspired by the advocacy of the Madleen, paying attention, watching online like a hawk every day. Comrades that I'm familiar with before they even set sail, like Greta Thunberg. I've always been following her work ever since I visited Sweden last year. And I was already pro-Palestine before October 7th. I had the pleasure of doing a panel discussion with Dr. Mustafa Borgadi at Concordia University in Canada, in Montreal, 1 year prior. And ever since then, I've been in the streets of New York, all over the country, protesting pro-Palestine rallies. I was at Columbia University day one, week one, when the students started their encampments that sparked a revolution around the world. I visited several encampments across the US and across the world as well. And yeah, me joining the Handala is something that's imperative to the labor movement as a trade unionist from America. The struggle for Palestine liberation is not outside the scope of the working class. They are, once again, they have working class struggles, and they are, once again, a country that is filled with trade unionists. I met plenty of trade unionists from Palestine. Shout out to my sister, Susan Salam from Jerusalem, the president of the Women's Palestinian Trade Union. And once again, I'm here, a part of the crew to break the illegal seas of Israel. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. And as we go on talking today, I want to hear more about the connections as you see them between the labor movement and the Palestine Solidarity Movement. Of course, as you noted, the history of the trade unions in Palestine is very powerful, a key vehicle for mass organization in the First Intifada and to today. So I'm excited to speak more about that. But from what you said, do I understand correctly, you hadn't thought of joining a flotilla yourself until following the Madleen just a few weeks ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wasn't privy to the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, to be honest. A lot of people, for various reasons, were not as well. People think that the Madleen was the first ship, and that's okay, because there is a younger generation and a resurgence in this movement because of the Madleen. And when I seen that, not only did I do my history and my research and found out that this is actually boat number 37, I said, as they were already selling, I had reached out to some of the activists like Thiago, like Greta, like Yasmin, telling them in their social media DMs, like, hey, sign me up for the next one, because it's important that a labor leader is on the next one.
Incredible and powerful to see, of course, the new wave of solidarity organizing that's been emergent and ascendant in the last time. Bob, if I'm not mistaken, is this your third time on board the Handala?
It's my third cruise, yeah, 3 years in a row. I brought the boat down from northern Norway up in the Arctic Circle down to Oslo. We took a month stopped in every port along the way and gave talks, had presentations, planned events. And we did the same thing last year along the East Coast, I'm sorry, the West Coast of France, Spain, and Portugal.
Amazing. So how did you first hear of the Freedom Flotillas, and how did you first get connected?
Well, it's interesting. I was at a Palestinian Heritage Festival in St. Louis, and someone from the Freedom Flotilla Coalition was there. They had a bunch of kids stuff, and they had a list for people to sign up that wanted to know more about it or wanted to sign up as participants. That was in 2018. I signed that in 2018. 2019, I get a call from Yonatan Shapira, who was called by Zohar Chamberlain Regev to give me a call while he was stopping over in St. Louis on his way to do some work. He's a pilot, as most of us know. And yeah, I would have been on it sooner, but COVID hit, and there wasn't a flotilla until 2023, and I got on it in 2023. So in the meantime, I got involved with you guys in Massacre Yata, and that just, and I see a lot of people I recognize. Hello, I love you guys. And I also see my wife on here. And yeah, it's been a journey, and it's kind of like I've gained a whole new family in solidarity, working with Palestine, and kind of makes up for the connections I've lost with my family in Israel, because they haven't been able to make that step across the green line and see for themselves what's actually happening over there. I've tried to get them to come over and see, but who knows?
Yeah, well, all of this and gatherings like today, and like joining with the two of you now, are part of the work of raising political awareness, putting focus on what is occurring in Gaza, on the ongoing blockade since 2007 and the policies of mass starvation. So it's through coming together like this across borders and in solidarity with Palestinians that, inshallah, we move things forward and arrive to a better time in the future. And yes, incredible to see the Massacre Yata Solidarity Networks well represented on the call today. And many people have so appreciated the work that we've done all together and with you, Bob, in the South Hebron Hills. I guess to focus a moment on the last sentiment you shared and the importance of facing what is happening in this current hard reality, the Handala is, of course, sailing towards Gaza in a difficult and devastating moment in the shadow of continuing mass atrocities. At least 70,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since 2023. The blockade continues, and mass starvation is setting in. Hundreds have also been shot these last months at the so-called food distribution sites of the U.S.-Israel Coordinated Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. So I guess I just want to really put it to you both also and ask you what is important to you to highlight, and what really motivated you to join the flotilla in solidarity with the besieged people of Gaza and with Palestinians. Yeah, why are you talking to us today from the flotilla?
Well, yeah, as I said, I wanted to join the flotilla back in 2018. What's been happening in Gaza is horrendous, and the way it's escalated since October 7th, not just in Gaza, but also in the West Bank, has, I never thought I'd see anything like that. I mean, the recreation of the Holocaust by the people who suffered one is just beyond my comprehension. I can't imagine what it must be like to be there. I do know that it provides tremendous amount of support for Palestinians wherever they are, for activists from around the world to come and let them know that we know what's going on and to take the message back to our homes. Yeah, especially since October 7th, I have just been floored with what's going on. Sometimes I can't even continue to watch it. Like you mentioned about the Gaza Humanitarian Coalition between the US and Israel. I mean, it's just become sadistic. And their intention is to ethnically cleanse, whether they ship them to Libya or kill them all. They want to ethnically cleanse the West Bank and Gaza. And what I have seen since October 7th is the setting up of the West Bank to be treated as Gaza is being treated right now. And you know, it horrifies me because I have a family over there. You know, going back there for, you know, 5.5 years, I've become very close with the Palestinians there, working in protective presence. I get messages every day from them. And to think that what's happening in Gaza right now could happen there is just, it's frightening for me. But yeah, we can't normalize this blockade. I mean, Gaza is blockaded by land, air, and sea. And this is an opportunity to bring attention to the world of this illegal blockade. And yeah,
Thanks, Bob.
That's why I'm here.
Thanks for sharing. And powerful to see and hear the connections you're drawing and the way you're acting in solidarity with the people you've built community and relationships with. For those who don't know, the common nomenclature for Bob in the South Urban Hills is Dear Bob. I hope I don't embarrass you, Bob, by saying this, but today they were glad to know. They said, we're happy you're going to be talking with Dear Bob today. So I'm happy to be together and also to have borne witness to the depth of the relationships you and our networks of co-resistance have built. Chris, I want to turn to you and ask you, is there anything you want to add? What's important for you to highlight in being on the Freedom Flotilla and on board the Handala? What is it you're trying to achieve, or what is the mission of this maritime mission?
Yeah, as Bob said, you know, what we have witnessed is a live stream of genocide and a massacre of nearly 500,000 people in less than 2 years. You know, every day we can turn on our social media, we can turn on any news on the left, and you're going to see dead people, dead children, mostly women and children, suffering and being slaughtered on our U.S. tax dollars. You know, as a taxpaying U.S. citizen, I just can't stand with that anymore. And especially as a trade unionist movement who organized against Amazon, who is a catalyst for the intelligence with the military-industrial complex. The Iron Dome is Amazon. For those who don't know, Amazon has invested $7.2 billion into the Nimbus project, along with Google, along with Meta, and along with Tesla, to surveil, track, and kill the innocent people of Gaza and Palestine. So once again, I want to be on the right side of history. I do not want to be complicit or a participant in this endless genocide that we've been witnessing for the last 21 months. Labor unions in particular from the US for the last 21 months have helped facilitate every 15 hours in shipping arms to Israel. And that is a shame. The blood is on their hands as well. They have to be held accountable. We're talking about some of the largest trade unions in America who have very powerful histories, but this time they're not on the right side. Once again, they passed 0 resolutions to stop doing business with Israel. 0. And that is a shame. And that's once again something that the working class and all around the world cannot be on the wrong side of the picket line. So as a trade unionist and as a tax-paying citizen from America, once again, we need to break the illegal siege that Israel has imposed. Everything that we're doing is legal. It's been deemed legal by the International Court of Justice. Israel does not have any jurisdiction on international waters. We come in peace. We come as activists and volunteers from around the world, different countries, different culture, to stand in solidarity with the people of Gaza right now. And ultimately, hopefully this will be the last mission. We wouldn't want to be here. We wouldn't have to be here if people weren't starving. But unfortunately, our government has failed. The system is broken. The two-party system is not working in America. You may have seen or heard how they unanimously voted to continue sending billions of dollars to the military and the Iron Dome in Israel. And we're saying, as the Handala crew, that enough is enough. We're going to continue doing what we have to do, sending boat after boat, ship after ship.
Thanks, Chris. And I think really powerful the way you're talking about how all of us are both responsible and have levers of power we can use as workers, as citizens of the nations we belong to, whose governments are complicit in the ongoing massacre in Gaza, and to understand that all of us are implicated and all of us are responsible. And I happened to be able to join the live stream from the launch this morning from Gallipoli, I believe, and I caught you, Chris, saying, maybe we won't be able to feed all of the people of Gaza with this flotilla, but we feed the hope of the people. And I think also in the history of the last years in the labor organizing, giving people the inspiration to resist, that people aren't alone, that you can engage in collective action is so important and appreciated. And I think that's so much of what the Handala and the Freedom Flotilla is also about. And I guess on that note, I wanted to just ask about your journey so far. If I'm not wrong, you first embarked from Syracuse, today from Gallipoli. What are you doing in the ports? Or what is this experience like? Are people meeting you at the docks? Are you talking with journalists or politicians? Are there Palestinians and Palestine supporters? What is this experience like in the last week? I just have no idea. And I think so many people would love to hear just what's been happening.
Yeah, I mean, the communities in both Syracuse and Gallipoli have been very, very welcoming. People show up every single day, bringing their children. We let them on board. We give them a tour. They bring donations, medical supplies, baby food, baby Pampers. We got a lot of stuffed animals. We got hundreds of stuffed animals from little children that wanted to bring it to the Handala to give to the children of Gaza. So it's the communities are very well in tune. It's been very uplifting for our spirits. They bring culture, they bring dancing, they bring music. There's Palestinians who families are being slaughtered, who families are being broken. They show up for us as well. A lot of them migrated to Italy as well. They show up here. Every send-off has been very special in its own way. There's always one person that's really really tearful, whether it's tear of solidarity, tear of pain, or tear of joy because we're doing this mission. We take all of that into consideration, that we're not alone on this mission. It may be 21 volunteers on board, but we're taking the hearts of everybody around the world, especially the ports that we left here at Syracuse and the Gallipoli. The people are with us. Their signatures, their names are on our walls. There's messages of solidarity. As you can see behind us, we have children pictures, drawings, you name it, we have it here. It's all on the Handala. And once again, we're here to send a strong, strong message to Israel that we're not going to give up. We're not going to give in no matter what happens. And if you haven't heard already, Israel has already tried to sabotage the Handala. We woke up this morning to some rotors being tied down. and somebody tried to deliver a tank of acid instead of water to our Handala boat. So Israel has already tried to impose their fear, but we are not afraid. We're still going to press on and onward to Gaza.
I hadn't heard about that. That's troubling to hear, but very moving to hear about the reception you received and the community of solidarity across borders that's rallying around the flotilla, and that made the flotilla possible. I know. And yeah, I had noticed the drawings from the children this morning watching the live stream. I saw all of you crowded around with all the stuffed teddy bears. It was a beautiful sight. Bob, I'm curious to hear from you also. Are there any specific moments that have been powerful and meaningful for you in this experience so far in connecting with people? Or what has the experience been like for you so far?
Yeah, it's been, I mean, from day one when I first arrived, it's just been a very welcoming experience. I got on the boat in Augusta, and there was a woman who's not associated with the flotilla who gave me her apartment. I stayed there for 2 nights before I moved on board the boat. She took me around town, took me out to dinner. Very, very grateful, expressed, her gratitude about, regarding what we're doing. Augusta didn't have a big platform around the boat for people to gather. However, when we did sail to Syracuse, and that place was amazing every day, like Chris described. We had people coming, people giving donations, people bringing invitations, events, singing. It was really, really, how can I say? I mean, it gave us a lot of strength. It's kind of like there's a lot of moving parts to this movement that we're all involved in. And, the support we get gives us the strength to do what we're doing. We have to remember, however, we're supporting the Palestinians who are fighting for their rights, for their independence, to stop being slaughtered. And they're doing it valiantly. We're here just to pass on their message, hopefully to get humanitarian aid to them. But mainly our goal is to break the illegal Israeli blockade. But yeah, leaving Saragusa brought tears to my eyes. We all spoke from the deck of the boat. People were coming up with tears in their eyes, hugging us, kissing us. I've never experienced anything like that before in my life. Right before we left, a woman came up who was obviously crying. She came up to me, gave me a big hug, and said, "I'm in Gaza. I'm from Gaza. I'm sorry. My family's still in Gaza." And it just broke my heart. But it also gave me a lot of inspiration to carry on doing what we're doing.
Thanks, Bob. I mean, as many of us have learned and seen and witnessed, a key objective of the occupation regime and of the ongoing Nakba, of course, is to isolate Palestinians from the international community, from grassroots solidarity and support, from diplomatic solidarity and support. I think there's also a French parliamentarian on board the Handala, unless I'm mistaken. So this is all part of the work, and what you two are part of and all of us together are part of is about breaking those sieges, those imaginative and physical borders and barriers that maintain these structures of domination and power. And it's very moving to hear how people are coming together and the way you've been connecting, and this is a rally point. I guess thinking towards the next days, I want to ask what is it? I saw in the chat somebody asked what's the intended route, or what do you think is going to happen from here? Of course, many of us, like Chris, saw how the Madleen was boarded and intercepted by Israeli forces. illegally on international waters. What is the plan these next days? What's the expected route of things forward, and what are the different scenarios you're imagining going forward, or the range of possibilities you're anticipating, as much as you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to take the same route. We're going to travel across the Mediterranean Sea. You can track us. There's a link up on our social media that you can follow the Handala every step of the way. And yeah, we understand that there's going to be a point where they might intercept us in the next 6 or 7 days. We are prepared. We have been preparing ourselves. We have our meetings amongst the crew. I can't get into the details about what that pertains, but we are well prepared. We all know what we signed up for as volunteers. And once again, this, Israel is going to impose their fear. Fear mongering is very real. The propaganda is very real. We already seen the propaganda that they put out there. So we have to do the same thing on our end. We have to put out post after post, live stream after live stream every single day, keeping all eyes on the Handala up until that point. We don't know what to expect. I can tell you this. I'm very optimistic. I feel like we're going to make it through. People said that it was impossible for me to organize against Amazon until I did it. Amazon is a $2.2 trillion company, and I beat Amazon with a GoFundMe budget. So you never know what can happen when the power of people come together. We have 5 Americans on this boat. As you mentioned, we have 2 members of parliament on this boat. We have a United Nations staffer on this boat. So we have some very big influencers and prominent people in different nations around the country and around the world on this boat. So we have some different playing cards. We're going to try to put out some different posts and apply pressure, especially to the U.S. government, now that we know and confirm that there's 5 Americans on this ship. That is a different angle that hasn't been done in the past and past missions. And hopefully, with the presence of social media and the presence of you guys sharing everything that's going on in real time, that'll help us get to the shores of Gaza.
Thanks, Chris. Righteous, let's do it. We got to break the siege. And like Chris mentioned, there's a tracker where you can follow the Handala. I saw somebody sent it in the chat, but you can Google Freedom Flotilla Coalition, and you can easily find the Handala tracker. So everyone should keep track, watch, see updates. There are live streams. And like is the case with events in the West Bank and in Gaza, the world acting as the witness for what is occurring is important and creates paths forward when people together are vigilant and we together can act and be aware of what's happening. Bob, do you want to add anything? What are you feeling about the next days, about the route going forward, and what are the things you're expecting as a range of possibilities forward?
Yeah, well, we know what's happened in the past, but we really don't know what's going to happen with us. So we've gone, like Chris said, we've gone through training regarding the eventuality of certain circumstances being boarded, what to do, what to say, what not to say, what happens if we get taken ashore. But but we really don't know. And as Chris said, I think we have actually 6 or 7 Americans on board the boat. And, it behooves all of you supporters coming from the United States to let your representatives know that, recently an American Palestinian was brutally killed by settlers in the West Bank, and you don't want to see that happen again. It's important to remember that, as Chris said, everything we're doing is legal. We're in international waters, and what Israel is, our destination is not Israel. Our destination is Palestine. And what Israel has been doing is totally illegal. and, against international law. And that message needs to be passed on by everyone. That's all of our responsibilities. And besides that, I want to say hi to Melilani and Denise. I see them on here. Sorry, I just had to do that.
Gotta be done. You have to give the shout out. Thanks, Bob. And yes, we have to amplify the voices on the ground in Gaza and the West Bank, Palestinians all over the world, 48, 67, internationally in the diaspora, etc., calling for justice, for ceasefire and the end of the blockade. We don't have endless time more, but I've been seeing some questions in the chat sent my way, so I'll direct them to you in the time we have left. Chris, I saw a few questions people posed about the connections you might see or how you understand the relationship between the union, labor, and workers movement and Palestine. What is the role of the labor movement? What are ways that fighting for justice in that context feels like it relates and resonates with this context? There were just a few different questions asking for any relationships between the different struggles or united struggles, as it may be, that you see. So any thoughts you would have would be much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I already mentioned that the labor unions in the U.S., specifically the U.S., have been very much complicit and participating in shipping arms to Israel. Some of the biggest unions, as I mentioned, the longshoremen, the AFL-CIO, have passed 0 resolutions. That is a shame. They are once again saying that they stand with workers, and their motto in the trade union movement is an injury to one is an injury to all. But I guess when it comes to Palestinians, they forgot that message. And we cannot accept that, especially as a trade unionist from America, somebody who organized against Amazon, as I mentioned, who was a catalyst for this endless genocide. I'm hoping to apply pressure to the trade union movement, not just in the US, but all around the world, that we have to stop allowing Israel to dictate our union dues. Union due paid during members shouldn't be going towards genocide. It's bad enough that our tax-paying dollars are going towards genocide. We don't need the trade union movement to do the same thing. Trade unions and unions are supposed to be the shield for the working class, not be the ones that are with the blood on their hands. So obviously, we could call it out, hold them accountable, but at the end of the day, there were some articles that I've seen and read about how they mentioned some of these trade unions that I called out, the longshoremen and the AFL-CIO. They deliberately said that Palestinian struggle is outside the scope of labor. And that is insane to even say or utter the words like that. Like you said, the history of the trade union movement in the Palestine goes way back to the first Nakba. So for me, I do not want to be on that type of history, on that side of history. I want to continue to speak out about Palestine. I started on October 7th. I lost tens of thousands of followers, had people that said that they supported me during the Amazon struggle, but this is not it. And I said, my response to them was very vulgar, but I definitely said I don't give a damn, because I'm going to continue to speak up for the ones who can't speak up. And that's what we have to do. We have to take a stance. We have to draw a line in the sand, and we have to pick a side, and not choose the side with the people.
They said, and I hope that message can spread. I mean, I think, like you're speaking to, at its best, the union and worker movements have been the backbones also of struggles for racial justice and gender justice and intersecting struggles. And at their worst, union movements have been complicit in racial violence, white supremacist violence, and exclusion. So fighting for the labor movement that all of us deserve and that the workers deserve is really important, and really appreciate the analysis and the perspective that you're giving there. Bob, turning to you, and I guess asking you to put what you're doing now in solidarity with the besieged people of Gaza in conversation with your past organizing. in the West Bank. You talked a little bit before about the connections between them, but do you want to say anything more about what the connection between the reality and Gaza and the West Bank is? What are similarities and differences? Or what you said before, you're afraid of what's happening in Gaza now being transferred or happening in the West Bank. Do you want to add anything in general about the connections and the larger picture?
No, I mean, I think that like I said earlier, what's happening in Gaza can easily be visited upon the West Bank. I mean, the West Bank's been broken up into Bantustans. They're sealed off. There's checkpoints going in and out. Very few are open. And, they're being squeezed both physically, financially, and health-wise. The children can't go to school because sometimes they can't get out of their village or the school's been demolished. The attitude of Israel, the Israeli establishment towards Palestinians is that they don't exist or they shouldn't exist. And I've seen it up close and personal. And I think the ultimate of that, where that leads, is what's happening today in Gaza. And we're seeing the ultimate effect. And we can't stop speaking out. We can't stop doing what we're doing. We have to take chances. We have to show our support for Palestinians. We have to show, it's not like we have to do it. It's not like I feel I have to do it. I love these guys. I've lived with them. They're like my family. And it's not a job. It's a passion of mine that, it's given my life meaning. And the people on this boat, I just want to make a comment about the people on this boat. They all feel the same way. I mean, Huwaida has devoted her life to this. I mean, she's been beaten up. She's been incarcerated. She's had all kinds of issues. And she's up here washing dishes in the galley, when she's gotten 2 nights of sleep. She's amazing. There's people from all over the world: Tunisia, Morocco, France, Italy, the United States, Palestine, Iraq. And, the passion that I feel in solidarity with these folks is something that I've really never experienced before. I guess because in Massacre we were never stuck on a boat, but it's magnificent. And there's a lot of love. It's not all bad. I'm doing this because I couldn't imagine doing anything else. So, and I want to thank all of you. I want to thank all of you in this webinar for being here and for doing whatever you do in support of Palestine.
Thanks, Bob. A lot of what you said resonates with me. And there's that famous, or not famous, you sometimes hear that refrain that solidarity is the political expression of love, which I think is important, that it's an act of care rooted in relationship too, seeing the ways that we're related and interconnect and share this world with each other and can build it together, which I think along the lines you're speaking to brings us to the final question we have time for today, which is just to maybe ask you both to share any last thoughts about what solidarity means in this moment. A colleague of mine who joined a webinar with me in October of 2023 from Gaza said that the occupation is, quote, a weak system it can't defeat feelings, the sincere feelings that we have. The one positive thing about catastrophe is that it brings true friends together, and it is true friendship and solidarity that is sustaining my hope and my ability to resist. So, as a last note, maybe starting with you, Chris, what, if you want to add anything more, is the role of solidarity in this moment? What does it mean in this context in the world right now? And why is it important to sustain solidarity across borders?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as Bob mentioned, we all have a role to play when it comes to this struggle. And leaders lead and activists get activists. Leaders' job is to activate the activists. And if I, as a labor leader, I say this to my members all the time, my organizers, you know, if you're an activist, it's time to get active. If you're a leader, you are supposed to activate the activists to get active. Everybody has a role to play. Sometimes you could do both. You could be a leader in your own way, or you could be an activist in your own way, or you could play the role of both. And that's what we have to do right now. We have to lead in our own way, lead by example, by joining the FFC or any organization to uplift the voices and the unheard, or the dead, or the people of Gaza who desperately need aid. Or if you're an activist that like to go to rallies, join a rally, scream at the top of your lungs, join demonstrations, but this is the best direct action you can take. Join the next mission if you have to. And that's what solidarity is. Solidarity is free. It doesn't cost you nothing to jump on this Zoom call. It doesn't cost you nothing to show up and give somebody a hug. It doesn't cost you anything to have a conversation with somebody. That is love and solidarity, and that is how we're going to win. When people ask me, how the hell did you beat a $2.2 trillion company like Amazon and beat the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, who was making $13 billion a day, $9 million an hour, $5,000 a second? My response is easy. Once again, the power of people, when we come together, nothing can stop us. And that is solidarity.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks to you and to the Freedom Flotilla for modeling that in so many different ways. And the way that you're speaking about being inspired by people on deck, it's amazing how we inspire each other to action. Bob, any last thoughts? What is the importance of solidarity now, and why is it important to you?
Yeah, it's interesting to see, the Western powers of this world afraid to confront Israel. There's no world power, well, Yemen, but there's no world power that's going to stop this genocide. And it's going to have to come from us. It's going to have to come from the grassroots civil society, confronting their own governments and confronting Israel. And that has brought a lot of us together. I see Nolwenn from France, and I see people I love that I've met in the previous years of being on the flotilla. And the solidarity, as you said, that we feel together is overwhelming, and we're gaining. We're gaining. We have to keep going. We have to up the ante, just like Israel's up the ante. We can't stop. And that's why I'm here on the Handala. And that's why I'll be in Massacre as soon as I get out of jail. So I love you all. That's the last thing I want to say.
See you in Massacre, Bob. Can't wait. Chris and Bob, thank you really so much for joining today. We know there's a lot of moving pieces. I'm sure there's so much going on. It's not taken for granted at all. Really, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Bob. Wonderful to talk with you both. With that, unfortunately, we're out of time. So sincere thanks to everyone here on behalf of the Green Olive Collective for joining this event from around the world with Chris Smalls and Robert Suberi. As I mentioned at the start of our time, your contributions for today's event will sustain our work with Palestinian and international human rights defenders, calling for a permanent ceasefire and an end to policies of ongoing starvation in Gaza. and support our efforts to raise local and transnational awareness about the violence of occupation and the ongoing Nakba. We also want to invite everyone here to join, if you are not already, as members of the Green Olive Solidarity Network. In this time of pain and anguish, it is often difficult to know what we can do to express our solidarity and tangibly support Palestinians. We have an incredible model here today in the Freedom Flotilla. But if people are inclined to join the Solidarity Network, we join every month with online calls, speaking to Palestinian civil resistors on the ground, responding to direct calls to action from the communities, and working to support their steadfastness in the face of occupation and of the ongoing Nakba. And lastly, I'll say that the Green Olive Collective is hosting a solidarity mission in the coming months, and you can find more information on our website. I'll send it out tomorrow along with a recording of this incredible conversation. So please be in touch. And with that, we hope everyone here has good and peaceful days. And we send all of our support to all of you on the Freedom Flotilla and on this call and around the world calling for justice. Much thanks and have good and peaceful days. Everyone follow the Handala online and talk very soon.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.